Hey everybody, it's the DELO, and we're back with another episode of Connect and Protect. And today we are going to connect you with my boy TJ with Ox Urban, and we're going to talk about all things, or some things, real estate. So hello TJ.
What's going on, DELO?
How are you, brother?
I'm doing great, man.
Yeah?
Doing great.
Tell me a little bit about your company and about real estate in general. What do you enjoy about it?
Well, I am with Ox Urban Properties. We are a boutique commercial real estate firm that focuses really on lifestyle, retail, restaurant, office, less focused on the big national type of retail centers and more focused on local restaurateurs and business owners. We specialized in that for the better part of the last 2 decades. And we love working with local first companies, local first restaurants. It is our passion. Gosh, I say a lot of ums.
That's all right, dude. We on our way to success. Trust me. And this is one of your one of the places that you
one
guys
of our listings.
are,
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
One of your listings that you're putting some people into. So I wanted to film something live on location in in more of a let's just say a real life situation as opposed to on my couch. So we're gonna kind of cut and edit and do some stuff and look at different aspects of real estate and what it takes to be a tenant, especially a restaurant tenant in a space like this. And so that being said, can you tell me some similarities between real estate and restaurants or restaurateurs? And
yeah, I think over the last decade, especially in the Arizona market, I mean, Ox Urban Properties, our company, we do landlord rep, tenant rep, buyer rep, seller rep, but ever more so in the last 10 years, 2 decades, the correlation between hospitality and real estate has gotten even stronger. And that's how I would describe it. There's a true correlation between hospitality and real estate. A bad location can really be the kiss of death for a restaurant, and the right location and the right restaurant in a good location can be the catalyst for really incredible things to happen.
Yeah.
It can actually be the turning event that brings a struggling retail center into a huge success. I mean, the right concept in the right geographic location with the right parties involved can really be the recipe for success as well.
do you feel like more boutique stuff like what you guys are doing is becoming a lot more popular? Because as we've seen, like a lot of the big box stuff that has just kind of disappeared because of online.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Without question. I mean, the way that developers used to develop larger retail centers that were anchored with the big boxes, big grocery anchored centers or Target or, Walmart superstore anchored centers. Those days do exist and those developments do exist, but, it's opportunities and such as this one, non-anchored centers that we've seen pick up a lot of steam over the last 10 years, where really restaurateurs have the opportunity to shine and be a quasi-anchor of a retail center, even though they don't take a majority of the gross leasable area like a big box anchor would. They have the opportunity to be the anchor, to shine, to be the shining star, to help turn a center around.
Yeah, the American spirit lives with entrepreneurship and wanting to have their own place. So,
absolutely.
All right, well, we're going to take a walk around and do a few more questions. All right, we are now inside of one of the spaces here at the complex. And TJ, what is it that a restaurateur? What are some of the things that they should look for when going and looking at sites?
Yeah, great question. I mean, I think first and foremost, restaurateurs need to determine what their identity is for the restaurant, what they want the identity to be. I mean, what type of restaurant are you wanting to open? Is it a full service restaurant? Is it a fast casual restaurant? Is it a drive-through, right? Because a lot of times the type of restaurant you want to open is going to dictate what type of space you can go in. I mean, if you want a fast casual QSR or a drive-through restaurant, obviously a space that's in line like this isn't going to work.
Yeah.
So you need to first identify what type of restaurant you want to be. I think that's first and foremost. Second is obviously location. Location is very important. I think there's a lot of great indicators that you can track. I mean, a lot of times areas that are very popular from a residential standpoint are good future indicators of areas that could equate to popular commercial growth. You look at like what happened with Arcadia. Arcadia was a very trendy place for people to live, and then a couple of great restaurants opened up, and now the rest is history, right? It's one of the hottest areas in town. We're standing in an area called the Shaberhood that has a lot of potential growth, right? I think those are great indicators. You know, where people want to live, they also want to eat. But location's incredibly important.
So let's talk about, actually, you had me thinking, and how important is it for somebody that in the restaurant business, let's just say that whether they're currently in the restaurant business and they have a location or 2 or 10, or they're just getting into it, how important is it to have somebody that might be a specialist in the field of what you do, and to get that guidance from somebody, you know, instead of just going out and trying to say, hey, I'm going to find this place on my own?
Incredibly important.
Yeah.
I mean, it's incredibly important. I mean, you know, we see both sides of the equation. We represent landlords when we receive offers from restaurateurs. We also represent restaurateurs and make offers on their behalf. And I'll tell you, when restaurateurs have the improper representation, it almost comes through in the offer, and you almost feel bad for them because you can tell that their representative is just missing crucial items that you'd like to see.
Yeah.
You know, or not negotiating really in their best interest. I mean, more than often you can get a pretty significant amount of TI depending on the location. You can
Tenant
improvement allowance from the landlords. You can get the time necessary to build out the restaurant without having to pay dead rent, right? You can build those mechanisms into your lease to get approvals for your plans through the city without having to, you know, cut into your free rent period.
Yeah.
And with the improper representation, a lot of that stuff gets missed, and you know, it just you have to set yourself up from day one for success, and normally the landlords will understand that, and the likelihood of them collecting rent from you, your interests are actually aligned.
Right.
When you know,
you're on the same team.
You're on the same team.
They want them to do.
They want you to do well,
right?
So they're open to, you know, logical changes or logical deal negotiating points that does align interests.
Yeah.
Right. They want to set you off on a good foot because that will increase the likelihood of them collecting rent from you.
No, it makes sense. So I'm Rick or I'm Sally, and I'm gonna go and I'm gonna go open a restaurant, and I gotta go find myself an agent. I gotta go find myself somebody that's gonna represent me and gonna have my best interest. Can you tell Rick or Sally, like, what are the maybe 2 questions they need to ask somebody when they're kind of interviewing them for that job to represent them as a real estate agent?
Yeah, I mean, you know, no offense to some of the realtors out there, but it's probably not the one that sold you your house.
Correct. Yeah.
You know, it is somebody that has experience working with local restaurateurs, and I think that's a big question that I would ask somebody. If you are a local restaurateur, or even somebody with 5, 6, 7 locations, there is a different school of thought between a national restaurant. So right. if your agent has a lot of experience in national representation of national restaurants, I'm not saying that's a bad fit, but there is a different thought process there. They have different criteria that they go through, different rental criteria, et cetera, different tenant improvement allowance criteria they're willing, you know, to bend on things that maybe you're not willing to. So I would ask, you know, what restaurants has your representative worked on? What groups have you worked with? And look for success stories, right?
Yeah. No, I think
your broker.
That's great advice. And look, I've built a whole brand around that, you know, not just an insurance agent, but a hospitality specific. So yeah. I think that's great advice. All right, why don't we take a walk and check out a little bit more?
Sounds good.
Cool. Okay, so we're in another area of the birdhouse, and this is actually a space that's designed to put a restaurant in it. So I wanted to ask you, what are some of the things that a restaurant owner should be looking for when they're, looking, especially at a new space? What are some of the key components?
Yeah, I mean, great questions. I mean, we've talked a little bit about location. Traffic is obviously important. Location within a center. This, for example, is an end cap. Obviously, end caps, out parcel pads are excellent opportunities for restaurants. And a reason there is a more significant correlation with end caps and like out parcel pads is the opportunity for patio. Patio in Arizona, I think, is of ever more importance. We've got 9 months out of the year where the weather is outstanding. And you want to be able to take out advantage of the outdoor patio space. The other nice thing is in Arizona, you typically don't pay on patio space. So it's actually an increase in your potential revenue that you can generate per square foot.
Yeah.
Right. So there are a lot of states where you do pay on patio, but Arizona is different. Your gross leasable area, the space that you actually pay on, is always based on your interior square footage, not your patio space. There are a couple of anomalies in that statement, but as a rule of thumb, you do not pay on patio space. So it's an extension of your premises. So patio space, number one, I think is a huge must. Then infrastructure-wise, I mean, to operate a restaurant, you typically need some very important pieces of equipment. You need hoods, Ansel systems, which is your fire suppression.
Right.
You need grease interceptors to handle the grease that's going down the drain, through the dishwasher, you name it. You have gas requirements, plumbing requirements. All of those are very important to look for.
And you need you need lines run in order to get, especially
100%.
gas, because when I built Pita Jungle out in San Diego, we didn't have a gas line. We literally had, at the last moment, pay $45,000 to dig into the street, to block it off, to get a gas line in there. So, I mean, these are great questions to be able to ask, especially if you're going into a newer building that's never had a restaurant in it before.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. And like, this is a good example of that. This doesn't have a lot of that infrastructure. The landlord's putting in some of that infrastructure in this case.
Yeah.
But if it doesn't have it, you need to know what you're up against. And if it doesn't have gas, it's not the end of the world. I mean, you can do what's called a trench and sleeve, and Southwest Gas will actually come and they'll lay the pipe for free, pipe and risers for free, because they want the account, but you do have to trench and sleeve, and that's a costly process.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. So this is a facility that did not have a patio before, so why don't we take a walk out this way and let's check out what they've developed here as far as patio.
Yeah, so typically you have to maintain some sort of right-of-way for ADA.
Okay.
But in a space you want light, bright, airy, open feel. That is absolutely the trend in restaurant design.
Yeah.
Days of like the really dark dining rooms. I mean, they have their place in higher end establishments, but typically you want light, airy, open. And yeah, these patios, again, it's an extension of your premises. This is revenue making opportunities right here.
This is great. This was all dirt before, from what I remember, and all that. And somebody very metro designed this.
It looks great. Yeah.
And mountain views of the whole 9 yards. So, yay to the patio. Now kind of ventured into another space that's being completed. I believe this is going to be like a coffee bar, which is kind of cool. Yeah. And I think the last topic I wanted to bring up today is in regards to, there's a lot of comparisons between insurance and between leases and the type of contract that they are. So an insurance policy is a contract that people are obligated to adhere to, including the insurance company. Tell me about how that can correlate to like somebody that signs a lease. Like, are they pretty much, they got to follow the guidelines of that?
Oh, absolutely. It's a legally binding agreement between you and your landlord, and the best way to look at it is really they're, typically for restaurants, they're 5 to 10 to 20 year relationships that you're creating with your landlord, and you're expected to adhere to the requirements in that document.
Yeah.
And so it's not only rent, but there are a lot of obligations that you have in a lease from maintenance to insurance.
Sometimes personal guarantees in there.
Absolutely, that you need to be aware of. And it's good to have somebody like you, because one of the first things once that lease agreement is signed that your landlord's going to request is a certificate of insurance.
Right.
So they need to have somebody like yourself close by, because restaurateurs, the first thing you need to do is send over your lease to your insurance agent, have them review the commercial general liability insurance
review
section.
them all week long.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because they're going to want a certificate of insurance. The landlord's going to want to understand that they're not liable for something that happens within your premises, right? Especially if you're serving alcohol too. I mean, and alcohol is a totally different beast, right?
Yeah.
But these are long-term relationships, and I would recommend having an attorney review them.
Yes,
because
I was going to
again,
say that. Yeah.
they're 5 to 20 year relationships. I mean, typically you're dealing with 5 to 10 year terms with options.
And those are the good attorneys, not the plaintiff attorneys that sue you for doing your job.
Right.
So anyways,
these are the guys. These are the guys that are watching your back.
So
yeah,
well,
absolutely.
that's great. Well, why don't we walk out of the parking lot and
Sounds
say
good.
goodbye? All right, well, TJ, thank you for this educational experience today. I'm glad that you could be a part of the Connect and Protect, and hopefully all of you out there got something from this. And I do want to thank your agent, Jose, who was here with us today as well. And yeah, folks, I mean, it's a beautiful day in Phoenix, and if you're looking for a space, these are your guys.
Thanks.